Santita Sata Parachaka Chatika Dese Tu Dhamman Anukam Pimam Ajahn.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namassāmi. Okay, so we've begun our winter retreat. And be pursuing the theme of the recollection of the Buddha, life of the Buddha. And that's I think a really important theme for establishing or re-establishing the quality of saddha, faith, conviction, confidence, trust. That's as a spiritual faculty, this quality of saddha or conviction is quite central. I mean, oftentimes that's not really considered so much, or we tend to avoid it, I think, a bit as Westerners. But the Buddha is quite. He places an importance on that sense of saddha or of faith. Not so much in terms of, saddha has a much different function in the Buddha's teachings than it does, say, in a say Abrahamic religions or Judeo-Christian religion. It has that because it's one of a spectrum of qualities that the Buddha says are like faculties or powers, and it creates a necessary kind of web of strength within the mind. And also the Buddha, in that sense of faith or saddha, conviction, confidence, virya, sati, samadhi, panya, that the effort, resolution, mindfulness, samadhi, concentration, calming of the mind, settling of the mind, and wisdom, discernment. But it's also, in terms of everything from the Buddha's teachings is always relying on, say, like causal processes and the quality of conviction or of trust. Saddha it helps to condition the quality of effort, putting forth energy, and because it's something that is essential in practice, in training, in transforming the mind. Transformation doesn't really come about just through wishful thinking or hoping. One has to do something, and one has to work with the conditions that we're facing, and working with the mind, working with this human condition of having a body that's subject to birth, aging, sickness, and death, and a mind that its moods and thoughts and impressions keep changing. Feelings keep changing. So that learning how to muster together the tools that are efficacious in helping to settle the mind, clear the heart, so that it's able to see things in their true nature. And this is what our meditation practice, or our bhavana, our cultivation is for. In the the northern school of Buddhism, and and in particular, just sort of come across it mostly with the translations of Master Hua's teachings. And one of the principles that he talks about a lot is the mind ground. In that, this kind of the base, or that mind ground, and because and it's an interesting term or translation, because I think his disciples were well schooled and well trained in what Master Hua was trying to convey, and so what some of the Chinese was alluding to. So this sense of the mind ground, because it is like the ground in that whatever one plants, it'll tend to grow. So that you plant some interesting vegetables and they grow, they can sustain you. You plant trees and they can give shade or bear fruit, and you can plant weeds and you get weeds. So that one has to be aware of what one is planting. Look at what sort of effort is one putting into this planting process, of what are we hoping to cultivate and harvest. So I think we all are very much hardwired to be seeking, wishing for happiness and not suffering. So, but there's aspects of the mind that one needs to be aware of and to learn how to deal with skillfully. This is one of the say the nivarna, the hindrances, and this is it plays itself out in all aspects of our life, but particularly in meditation, what are called the hindrances, and what the Buddha says, these are hindrances that overwhelm awareness and weaken discernment, or they overwhelm mindfulness and weaken wisdom. So that they are a hindrance. They're a hindrance, an obstacle. They definitely have a problematic nature, and they kind of eat away at the strength of the mind, the power of the mind, power of the heart, and the Buddha points to sense desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness, worry, skeptical doubt, as the fundamental hindrances that overwhelm awareness and weaken discernment. One of the images that he gives is of a mountain stream, and of course Buddha came from the foothills of the Himalayas, and they grew up in Nepal, southern Nepal, so he knew about mountain streams, and that you have a mountain stream coming down, and but then if you create channels on that stream and take the water off into different directions, then it weakens the current. It weakens the strength of the flow of the water. It's not able to carry along anything with it. But of course, the opposite is true. If one doesn't create these channels or channel off the current of the water, then it follows its main sort of water course, and it has a strength, has a power to it. And of course, the Buddha is using this same image as an image to illustrate the mind that when it has hindrances of sense desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness, worry, skeptical doubt, then the strength of the mind, the power of the mind, is dissipated and goes off into many directions, and it's that awareness and discernment of the mind are compromised. So that there's a encouragement for the working with these to free the mind from these hindrances, or at least to bring them into abeyance, so that one experiences a sense of a peace, of clarity, of a sense of the mind coming together, because that the Buddha, it's a very simple state. It's in the Anguttaras, in the ones, where the Buddha is a very simple statement. The mind, bhikkhus, is luminous, but it is defiled by adventitious defilements, or by incoming defilements, or visiting defilements. And then the mind, bhikkhus, is luminous, but it is freed from its these adventitious defilements. So that, but the Buddha, so that the fundamental nature of the mind is this luminous, bright, clear quality, and these say adventitious is something that's it's not intrinsic. It's not that, and they come in the Pali. It's akandukehi upakilesehi. So an akanduka is like a visitor, and in Thai, that's actually they just take the word and use it as it's like a formal word for a visitor. That learning to see what these visitors are, of course, one of the important categories. I mean, the Buddha has many lists of different kinds of defilements, but the hindrances are tend to be particularly used when working with the settling of the mind, creating a sense of calm and steadiness within the mind. Learning how to work with these hindrances in terms of overcoming it. But I think it's really helpful to recognize the that fundamental nature of the mind, the sense of luminous, bright, that we can be returning to, because of course the habit is to identify with the defilements, or assume ownership of them, or that they are who and what one truly is, and oh, I'm such a greedy person. Oh, I'm such a angry person. I'm such an anxious person. I'm such a doubter, and all of that, and we create these identities for ourselves, and they. But the Buddha is saying that no, the fundamental nature of the mind is its luminosity, its radiance. And in a similar manner, when the Buddha talks of the images that he gives for the hindrances, and trying to give encouragement and working with them, he gives images using water as a fundamental image, so that say like with sense desire, the water is colored. It's been colored, and so because it's colored, has a dye in it. One can't see one's reflection clearly. One can't see through. But the assumption is, or the implication is that the natural state of the water would be clear and still, so that one could see oneself clearly. One could see whatever is in that water, and being able to return to that, and say the image for ill will, aversion, anger is boiling water. So when water's boiling, one can't see clearly, and that. Or with sloth and torpor, it's like a pond that has got algae and water plants on it, so one can't see one's reflection. One can't really see the water clearly. Can't see the shoals or the gravel or the bed or the fish that are swimming around. We can't really see that. And with restlessness, worry, it's like water that has disturbed by the wind. There's ripples and waves and whatnot. And then the skeptical doubt is as if the water were muddy or turbid, and not only that, it's like as if it were in a jar and put into a cupboard somewhere, and you really can't see it. So it's there are these things that come into the water that hinder its clarity or its stillness, and to be working with means to recognize that this is weakening discernment and overwhelming awareness, overwhelming mindfulness, and being able to reflect, investigate, and pay attention. How can this be worked with? And I think one of the ways is to is to recognize these hindrances as expressions or manifestations of dukkha, of suffering. Oh, this is suffering. This is really so that being able to see that more clearly, because we tend to either just out of habit we return to certain habit patterns, and they're familiar, so we keep returning to them. But to be able to recognize, oh, this is suffering. This is actually creating discontent, dissatisfaction, or is in and of itself. One is ill at ease, dis-ease, stressed. This is stressful. And to and to recognize that sometimes it's like our in the same way that we cultivate different strategies of wisdom or discernment and practice and training. Our dukkha has its strategies also, and sort of like sense desire is it's a great strategy for just to get out of dukkha. One's uncomfortable, something's unpleasant. It's kind of it's kind of like low-hanging fruit type of response. And just how to look for some kind of fantasy, some kind of distraction that's pleasurable, that's kind of interesting, exciting, but it's not a particularly decent long-term solution. Just so being able to recognize, oh, this is a hindrance. This is actually suffering. But then, to recognize when the mind goes to, some kind of desire pattern or some kind of fantasy. Luang Pu Tet, one of the very senior disciples of Ajahn Mun, in his that was an autobiography. He wrote about his own practice because he started when he was quite young, and his developing of his practice, and he has this little story of himself when he was still a novice, sort of when novice Tate became a millionaire, and he sort of had this, and he managed to absorb into a fantasy of when he was young, there was it was the first introduction of the lottery in Thailand, and it the prize was nowadays it wouldn't seem like as if it's that very much, but in those days it seemed like a lot of money, and it was a lot of money, and so then he'd started So in his mind, he became a millionaire, and he was planning on what he was going to do with it, and of course, after a time, he realized that he hadn't even bought a ticket yet. But that doesn't stop the fantasy of sense desire. It's just where reality doesn't sort of have to accord at all. We're happy to absorb into any kind of fantasy that's pleasant and distracting. Ill will and aversion, irritation. It seems like we're not getting what we want. Or something's not computing. Something's not pleasing to one. So then one responds out of irritation, aversion, anger, and it it is another expression of dukkha, and so that's being able to see it clearly, and to be able to recognize it. It's not so much that one it's just so important to be able to have the willingness to let it be, because especially something like, of course, with sense desire, then of course, we're happy to let it be, but because it's pleasant. But something like that is unpleasant, where we want to get rid of it and we push away, and we tend to react to the, say, ill will, aversion, with more aversion, and it kind of it builds on itself, and it's like the story in the suttas of the anger-eating demon who went up to the. It's in the Sakka Samyutta, so where it's in the Taoitingsa heaven, that Sakka is the ruler of the Taoitingsa realm, and but anyway, this kind of small not very pleasant, kind of ugly yaka managed to get himself up there and went into Taoitingsa heaven and plunked himself down on Sakka's throne. And of course, people were freaking out and getting upset and then kind of trying to, who do you think you are? How do you? What? This is what an outrage, and it all sounds very justified. But of course, he's an anger-eating demon. So as he was subjected to more ill will, then he got bigger and started to get a bit more. Started looking a lot better, and anyway, it keeps growing. Of course, people get more freaked out. But finally, Sakka shows up, and all he does is basically, I'm Sakka, ruler of the Taoitingsa realm. welcome, and keeps repeating it, and he's not not shaken by it, not averse to it, and then the demon starts deflating, and the more kind of even and gentle that the Saka is, and the more he deflates until he turns into that little ugly demon again. He gets embarrassed and runs off, disappears. So it's a nice little story in the Samyutta. But it's a skillful example of the being able to deal with these hindrances in a skillful way. Because it's that letting go is not a pushing away, it's a recognition and then a letting go, a releasing, and not getting hooked or getting caught. You know, even something like the sloth and torpor is it's a manifestation of dukkha, and and it's like sometimes we just want to shut off. We don't want to experience. We don't want to, and that in particular really needs to be. We have to be willing to look at that. And it's that letting it be, but also lifting up attention, lifting up a sense of examining, so that we don't drift into dullness, drift into that kind of lassitude of mind, where it's there is a certain alleviation of dukkha by drifting into dullness. Again, it's not a wonderful strategy, but it's in terms of a strategy for dukkha. It works when things are kind of overwhelming or difficult, or go into dullness, so that we don't have to feel so much. Again, it's not a a strategy that's well established in the luminous mind, or because it's covering it over, abounding in awareness and discernment. But it's what minds do. It's important not to take it personally. These are strategies to sort of cope or express or manifest dukkha in different ways. So that being able to examine and to lessen, to let go. And as we do that, then of course that's why it's helpful to have this fundamental saddha, faith, conviction, And for the Buddhists, how the Buddha conceives of faith is the faith in the awakening of the Tathagata Bodhisattva. So that conviction that the Buddha was somebody who was awakened, enlightened, liberated. And he was a human being, and he was able to work within the conditions of the human realm and experience awakening, liberation. And it's available, it's open to anybody else who is a human being with a mind and a body. And then within that sort of that sense of conviction of the awakening of the Tathagata, and then sort of the conviction of the nature of the mind. And this mind, bhikkhus, is luminous, and that and one, and of course, the way that one uses, say, conviction or faith or santa, is it's not just accepting it, but it's using it as a working hypothesis. So that as one uses that as a basis of working with our what we experiencing dukkha, experiencing suffering, experiencing discontent, experiencing dis-ease, experiencing stress. It's helpful to have that recognition of there is a possibility outside of this. So like working with the hindrances. One doesn't have to, and certainly not helpful to accept the hypothesis that the mind is and the human condition is intrinsically flawed, and the mind is indelibly stained, and it's not possible to free the mind from its limitations. That's not really a helpful starting point. These are adventitious to find. They come and go, yeah. But if they come, well, they can go. So how do we work on the going part rather than kind of being the welcoming committee for their coming? I mean, it's okay. How do we? But we do need to recognize what's happening, so that with like restlessness and worry. I mean, sometimes it tends to we're that sense of it's hard to settle in the present moment. It's hard to be content with the present moment. So that restlessly going out to the past or the future is again, it seems like a viable option, and it's definitely a habit that we get caught by. But it is a hindrance. It does overwhelm awareness and weaken discernment. That learning how to bring attention to that contentment. That how can I be with this present moment? Or is this present moment really all that bad that I have to rush off to the future or the past? And it tends to be something that is we get caught up in. So when we look at it more clearly and be present, this is actually pretty good. It's really just being here with the breath, being here with this present moment experience. This is really satisfying. And skeptical doubt is oftentimes just doubt, wavering, a kind of indecision, and of course the nature of things is this uncertainty, unsure, but we can respond to that uncertainty in a way of being, being very doubtful, wavering. Should this, how this, and just losing our ground. But we can also respond to uncertainty just with this quality of awareness, of clarity, of discernment. That sense of the nature of with the image that the water the Buddha gives. When it's not being overwhelmed by the different accretions and influences, that the nature of the water is to be clear and still. And so then returning to that and drinking from that pool of clarity, steeping oneself in that stillness. So it's an option, it's a possibility that we can keep returning to, and as one does that, then the awareness is fortified, and the discernment becomes very solid, and hindrances are not shaking the mind. As one does that, just that appreciation of I think it's helpful to appreciate, turning to the quality of appreciation, what it feels like when the mind is, and to make it very conscious. There is no ill will. There is no sense desire. There is no sloth or drowsiness. There's no restlessness and worry. There's no skeptical doubt. To make it very conscious, because it's we can again we can identify or assume our our flaws, our flawed mind that always has hindrances, but it's not really the case. That's not the nature of the mind, to be actually make it conscious. Because we can sit in meditation and just sort of wait for the hindrances because of the assumption, we go, okay, another meditation session, another sort of battle with the hindrances, and then wait for them, and then affirm them. Oh, okay, there's an affirmation of an assumption, but it's the opposite is also completely possible in that sense of the hindrances are not there, or that particular hindrance is not there, and to actually attend to it and appreciate. And as one pays attention to that appreciation, to be recognizing and delighting in the awareness and discernment, and stillness and clarity. It is, this mind bhikkhus is luminous. That is it's an incredibly simple statement, and it is defiled by adventitious defilements, but it is also freed from adventitious defilements. So that just that learning how to pay attention to it's where we direct our attention that we becomes our reality. That's what becomes our experience. So that it is working with and experimenting and opening up the possibilities. So I'll offer that for reflection this evening.
Close with the chant on page 33.